All right, and a million fixes later. There we go. All right, everyone. So today we, instead of Mallory, we have Miss Samira Khan, cosplayer, streamer, fitness model, everything, on the line with us. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Let's see what's been going on this week. So, Mr. Josh, what have you had? Anything exciting going on this week for you?
Nothing too crazy. Been playing more Pokemon Shield. Gigantamax Gengar is a huge pain. Actually played a little bit of Street Fighter V again. Some buddies in Dink's Discord have been picking it up. He also did he's trying to be more involved with his Patreon. So last night he had a Patreon hangout session. So we played Street Fighter V with that while we were just hanging out on Discord. And of course he's like putting up the videos to promote more, stuff like that. So
Nice.
that was more or less my week.
Nice.
Not too much going on.
Yeah, same
Slow
here.
week.
Yeah, no, just busy doing the old work nonsense. But other than that, game-wise, I was able to get in a few things. I finally got to playing on Switch. Well, always on Switch, obviously, for me, usually. I was playing I'm the Hero, the beat-em-up side-scroll thing. That's always fun. I've been wanting to play that one for a while, because back when they were still Super Best Friends they would play that one. Played more Celeste. Getting towards the latter half of that, or the end of that one, I think, if I remember correctly. So I'm like on chapter 7, I think. So getting there. Then the one I forgot to mention last time was Lapis X or Lapis Labyrinth. I think the X is silent, I suppose. I don't know. It's a weird title, but that one's still a lot of fun. I think that Jim Sterling nailed it on the head when he described it as a game that hits like the gambling endorphins without actually having any real money at risk, because it's all like you're just getting tons of rewards and jackpots and stuff like that. It's basically a really cutesy looking RPG, but at the same time you're kind of trying to collect all this money to revamp this town that's gotten kind of shitty. Like, it used to be a really lucrative town that had adventures going in and out of it, and then like since they kind of got drained out, there hasn't been as much adventures going through, so you're one of the few to come in there and you're trying to help the town get back on its feet and stuff like that. But there's all sorts of crazy visuals and stuff like that, and the only thing I can speak against it for certain people, it doesn't bother me, but I can imagine some people might not dig it, is if you don't like, there's only a Japanese audio track, so if you're not into like the really high-pitched anime girl noises of them making a bunch of squeals and yelling and stuff like that, that part might be kind of annoying for some people, but other than that's the only con I can really think of. The rest of it's fine. It's really good. Mallory's missing. She's decided to make money and work today, so there she goes. She's gone. So that's where she is, but she'll be back next week, probably. And then, before I get to the other stuff, though, this stuff is all kind of semi-topic stuff, so I was in that. Samira, what have you been lately? Anything interesting happen recently, in the new year, even?
Oh, goodness. Nope. I was fortunate enough to have some time off work, so I've been playing a lot on my new Switch Lite that I got for Christmas.
Good.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Animal Crossing to come out, but until then, I have been grinding a lot of Overcooked.
Overcooked is really fun. That is one of my most favorite party games. It's got the whole thing where you can, like, you're yelling at each other, but it's more of a productive yelling than some other games. Like, it's just a lot of fun, because I worked, and for a while I was thinking about taking a cooking path in life, and so I took culinary arts for a while, and I worked internships at a few restaurants and stuff like that, and it is really intense in a kitchen. Like, there's a lot going on, everyone has to be on their A game, or the whole thing's a mess. So it's a lot of fun. The way they were able to translate that into a video game is great. So now I'm glad to hear that you've been liking that. Yeah, Overcooked 1 and 2 are both really great games.
Yeah, I've only played the first one.
I beat them both.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah. As far as Animal Crossing goes, I think at this rate, with all the guests that we've had on, and like us anticipating as well, I think we're all just going to basically, we're going to be hitting like everyone up that has been on this show to try to get like a big old town swap thing going on. So I'm definitely down for that. I'm excited to hear so many of our guests are going to be getting Animal Crossing. I think that's like the one game so far that everyone's been on. Like, a lot of people got Sword and Shield, but I feel like even more people than Sword and Shield are really going to get Animal Crossing, and I'm very stoked for that. That's like one of those things that I don't mind the fact that there's like a million games coming out that time, because I'm going to also be getting Doom Eternal, Doom 64 on that same day, and then I'll also be in the middle of like Cyberpunk as well as Final Fantasy VII Remake. So there's like so much going on in a matter of months. Like in February and March are insane. This year, the only thing I think I'm gonna get Tokyo Mirage Sessions, so Fire Emblem Cross Shin Megami Tensei, which still to this day to me is like a weird crossover, but like it's still interesting. It's a good looking game, so I'm excited for that. I saw a little list on YouTube, and the thing about YouTube is that it's just become that thing where it's like Facebook, where it's something you find yourself on a lot, but then there's also a lot of garbage on there that also kind of like annoys you a little bit, where you're kind of like, why do I suffer myself and I come on here? Oh, right, then some good stuff happens, and you're like, okay, this is kind of why it's the easiest way to kind of keep track of people and blah, blah, blah. But with YouTube, it's the same thing. It's kind of the entertainment hub. We've had many conversations as content creators. We kind of suffer through all the nonsense that's been going down on YouTube for a while now, and we talk about how, alternatives are hard to come by and stuff like that. Then I come by and I'm scrolling through lists, and I just see something that's just like top whatever games you may never heard of. And maybe it's because I'm in the industry, I don't know. But like Bloodstained was on that list, and I'm like, I don't think Bloodstained's really that underground of a game. I think like if most people haven't even like played it, I think that everyone has at least seen the cover art or like heard of Bloodstained, so I'm just kind of like, that's a really bad. Some of the other ones on the list were pretty good choices, like Indivisible. Indivisible had a pretty lucrative Kickstarter, but it wasn't like highly advertised or pushed. In fact, a lot of people I know still haven't played Indivisible, which you should, but it's not for everybody. Aesthetically, for those who don't know, it's by the people who made Skullgirls, which is an amazing fighting game, especially visually. It's what it's touted for the most. But its mechanics are kind of weird, because the combat system almost has like a weird fighting game combo thing going on, so it's almost like a fighting game, beat 'em up combat, and then platforming to traverse area. It's a hybrid of many genres. And I've heard people express both interest in it being this mishmash of weirdness, as well as people being like, no. Like, I wanted a straight RPG, and this is like, I'm not wanting to learn combos and stuff like that. The main criticism I agree with that came out for it is that people were like, if you're going to have fighting game-ish mechanics, and you're going to have combos and stuff like that, you got to have a move list. Yeah. To which one of the head devs, had kind of got a little salty about it, and he kind of made some, like, kind of semi-smart remark about how, like, no, like, it's not, it's about finding it out. So he's like, yeah, but when you have, again, like, in a fighting game, when you have so many different inputs and combos to do, it's almost imperative that you have a move list. Like, because even if you were to try to practice all the different possible combinations, it's like, well, how many down, then forward, plus A, B stuff is there, and then just A, and then B, and so, anyways, no one finds this shit interesting. But it's one of those things where it does make me wonder, where I'm just like, how did you not include that if you're going to have combos and stuff? And then another thing is the protagonist that you play as, Anya or something like that, her moveset changes sometimes, and that also makes it even more hard. You should have, these are your moves in this form, these are your moves in that form. I don't know, to me a move list was pretty much important, and I kind of hate that they just kind of dismissed it passive, like just in passing like that. Like, whatever, dude, like you just get good. And it's like, no, it's not a situation of just get good. It's like, it's kind of like a design flaw in a way.
Isn't Mike Z like the main? Yes,
that's who it was. I was going to say the name originally, but yeah. But it is what it is.
Yeah, well, the thing is, here's another reason why that argument is so silly, is because he comes from a fighting game background.
And that was the problem, yep.
Yeah, so it's very like, why are you saying this? It's dumb.
Yeah, he kind of had a half-ass argument of, well, it's not technically a fighting game. Yeah, but you're using fighting game mechanics. I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled from the Skullgirls engine, like, or, well, they're using GGPO for the netcoding, but I forgot what the actual engine was. I think it was in-house. But anyways, regardless, they're using a very similar feeling engine, so exactly, he should just know that. That was really dumb about it. Samira, did you play Skullgirls or Indivisible or any of those games by
No, unfortunately not. So I have no input for that.
Yeah, you're good. I was just curious. What I was going to ask is, at the current sitting of people right now, Witcher on Netflix. Has anyone delved in yet?
Negative.
Josh, no?
Oh yeah, just finished it today.
Did you? Okay. So, how much, before we have this conversation, because this is very important that everyone knows this, how much experience do you have with The Witcher in terms of the game?
In terms of the game, I only played like maybe half of the first one, and then I watched a lot of like playthroughs online.
Okay. So, and then, what did you think of the show, I guess, in connection to that?
I liked it. It's funny, I only recently, because of the show, found out that apparently it's also a book series.
Yes, correct.
And I had no idea playing the game that it was.
Uh-huh.
So I would be more curious to see if it lines up a little bit more with the book series.
Yeah, for sure. And it's and that's kind of a good thing in that sense that your interest is peaked now, because at one point, especially when Witcher 3 dropped, when it got really popular, is around the time like the books were still very hard to find. You were pretty much having to go online for like PDF files of like translations, because that's how underground that book series was. So
yeah, I think they still don't have an official translation.
They do now.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, the actual published series by, I forgot who the publisher is right now, that's like the actual official thing now.
I'm going to have to look
But for the longest time, it was not available in an official English translation.
Yeah.
And the only reason the guys at CD Projekt Red even knew about it is because of the region they're from.
Yeah.
That series was kind of like a deal over there, so they knew about it. Well, it's interesting that you didn't know about that. But what's interesting is that, so when the guys at CD Projekt Red wanted to make the Witcher games from the very first one, like 10 years ago, they actually did make a negotiation with the creator. We talked about this before, but I just wanted to let you know, because I always think it's an interesting story. So basically, when they asked the guy to make a deal to have the rights to use his books and characters and likeness, this guy and the author of The Witcher is like really old. Like he's like God, he's got to be close to 90 now, probably. I only mean that semi-hyperbolic, but he's very old. And he kind of didn't get a grasp of just how big the game industry is. I think that even a little bit more, even people in their 40s and 50s that I talk to sometimes don't quite understand what kind of money the gaming industry pulls in. We're talking Red Dead Redemption 2 pretty much had as big of an opening weekend as Avengers Endgame. So I think people don't understand that video game business is a big deal. But anyways, he didn't think so, and so he basically kind of scoffed at the idea that they even wanted to use his franchise to make a game. And they asked him if he wanted an outright payout or royalties for as the games come out and sell more to make more, as it goes along. As the royalties are, I don't know how to explain that, but then he basically was just yeah, whatever, give me $500 and we'll call it even. So he actually sold the rights back then for $500, and even The Witcher 3, even just The Witcher 3 alone, when the game blew up in 2016, is way more, millions and millions of dollar franchise now, and then because of Netflix and stuff like that, it's even more money. Oh, yeah. So he got mad a couple years ago, had a lawsuit in, I believe, 2018, and kind of was just they tricked me. Then, of course, CD Projekt Red, being the smart guys they have, had a ton of proof and evidence that show that he was very condescending about it, and that he was the one who pretty much wanted to make that deal and stuff like that. So that lawsuit fell out in court, and but now their rights to make stuff is running out, so they did have to renegotiate recently, and they didn't want to disclose what they agreed on this time, but I can almost guarantee you Andrzej, whatever the heck his name is, the guy that made The Witcher, I can guarantee you he definitely asked for a bigger number this time. But they did come to an agreement, and so more of the show is going to be greenlit, as well as Witcher 4 will probably enter production soon. So
yeah,
it was an interesting thing, though, how I just really did not realize how big the game world had potential for. Going back to the Netflix series and bringing it into current time, I've watched the first 3 episodes, and I was very hard on it at first. I got the hipster in me got a little upset where I was just like, I've been preaching about this game for like friggin' like forever, and now everyone gives a shit. So it's one of those things where that's just happened to me a lot, and so it is what it is. But as I watch like episode 4, I'm just kind of like, okay, you know what? This isn't bad. I think the only issues I have with it are just me expecting a game to show ratio being a little bit higher, but it's supposed to be based on the books more, and definitely has a lot more to do with the books than it does the games. Yeah. And in that way, because they were so forward about that part about it, I started to kind of cool my jets. I let the kind of, annoyance get out of me that everyone likes The Witcher now instead of being happy about it. And then I kind of thought about it from a constructive point of view, and I'm like, you know what? It's not bad. It's technically not based on the game anyways, but all it's really done is actually boosted interest in The Witcher, and you know what? At the end of the day, that's a good thing. Like, Steam had record players, like more people after The Witcher dropped on Netflix, more people have played The Witcher 3 on Steam than ever have. Like, they're at the peak numbers now. A ton of people have just now heard of it and are getting into it. People are buying the books. Like, if you go on Amazon right now, it's like one of the high-selling books right now. It's like, all of it's just gone up, and like I said, looking at it from an objective point of view, that's good. I just got kind of annoyed at first. But yeah, that's interesting. The only thing I still am kind of having a weird time with, and this was one of my gripes from announcement, is just Henry Cavill to me as Geralt is just weird, because I've always seen Henry Cavill as real clean-cut dude.
I'm not the only one that thinks that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think a lot of people are. That is probably one thing that, like, a lot of people will kind of have something kind of others, because Geralt's a really, like, he's not skeevy, but he's very, he's rougher and a little more badass than I think of fucking Henry Cavill, basically. Like, I don't know. It's like I just think of him as Superman, so at that point it's just kind of weird seeing him do, like, but I appreciate him trying to, do a 180 and try something different, so.
For sure. I have a hard time looking at his face with the wig, just because his jaw is so wide, and then his forehead's like his face is a triangle, and then that out with the hair, but it's just a weird shape.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm not the only one who thinks that also, because I was trying to think, I was thinking about that as well. Yeah, it just looks, he's definitely, in my opinion, if I had to choose the worst part of the show, ironically, even though it's the main dude, the fact that he's doing a decent job of playing Geralt, if he just if it looked different. That's all I wanted. Like, his performance itself isn't bad, but he does look a little off the way he looks. Like, I don't know. But it's just what happens, I suppose, when you try to take someone who doesn't naturally look like that and then try to, transform him as much as possible.
Right.
They did what they could.
Wanted to bring more people to the show, too, just by throwing a very handsome Henry Cavill in everyone's face.
Exactly. Yep, that definitely helps for promotion, so there's that.
Well, looks like the book is sold out a lot of places.
Yep, see? Now the book's sold out everywhere. Yeah. When I had that shit like sitting there when I was going to buy it for someone for a present, I was just like, no one was buying it, and now it's like hard to find.
So while y'all were conversing on
you were
that,
looking
I went on Amazon. They have a box set for like $25, which I think it has the first 3 books.
First 3.
For $25 for 3 books, that's not bad
and
at all.
And it's a lot of story. They're big books.
Sold out.
Of course.
They have the first book in paperback, but it's like $15.
That was just like $10 a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, no shit.
And then BarnesandNoble.com, both online, and then I just checked in store, sold out for the first book.
And I guarantee you that shit was collecting dust just a few weeks ago. It's insane. Like, it's really been a good turnaround for them. So, congratulations to CD Projekt. I can almost see that if Cyberpunk does well, I can almost see them wanting to do an adaptation of that also. Because to be fair, Cyberpunk looks really cool. I mean, Vaporwave, 80s, neon, glam stuff looks awesome.
Yeah. That's my aesthetic.
Yep, exactly. It's really cool. There's a reason that look is so popular, especially in like indie games.
Yeah.
You see that stuff all the time. It's like they always have that cool like droning soundtrack. Makes you think of like fucking Drive or some shit like that. It's really good. Okay, so getting into your background as a cosplayer, how did you originally get into the cosplay game? Like, how long ago was it? And, like, what did you see or do where you were just like, this may be something I actually want to do a little more actively?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's been so long ago now. I think it was 2008. I was in like elementary school, I guess. I was just finishing. I had some issues like making friends at school because my dad kind of got me into like comic books and video games and all that stuff when I was a kid. But none of the girls at school liked that stuff, and there weren't even too many guys into that stuff either. So I think my dad could tell that I was kind of getting a little bored and maybe a little bit lonely. So he had always wanted to go to San Diego Comic-Con, but we obviously live in Toronto, and that would be quite a hefty lump sum of money to go to that for your first convention.
Right.
But there was a Toronto convention, similar enough, Toronto Comic-Con. He basically just decided, hey, we should go to this. You should check it out. Go online, look at it, see if you like it. And I went online, and I remember seeing photos of people dressed up as superheroes. And I was like, what the hell? And I was so confused because I was like, wait, it's not Halloween. These are really good costumes. They're not store-bought.
Yeah.
How the hell do I sign up? And I just started from there. I did buy my first 2 or 3 costumes with my parents' help, but then eventually I started to learn how to sew and make things like armor. My mom had a sewing machine from her 30s when she was making clothing for my sisters and myself, so I kind of just took her sewing machine and started making things. And I don't think I realized that it was a huge community until I was like a couple years into it and kind of getting old enough to make friends with the cliques and the crowds, and it honestly just like spiraled from there. And I've met some of my best friends in the community, people that I think I'll invite to my wedding, people that I think will be like bridesmaids, and it's just been such a great like experience for me to both learn how to do things and make new things and have this creative outlet, but also be surrounded by people that share the same interests that you do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's one of my things when I've had several cosplayers on here up to this point, and I always like hearing how everyone has kind of gotten into it. And I think that even though the start is very different for each of y'all, the coolest thing is that one of the more important things that you all got out of it was like the connections you built by meeting other people who kind of share this passion that you didn't realize was even an actual community per se up to that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's really cool. Oh, well, let's see. I'm not going to put that one. Do you have any upcoming con appearances or anything like that in the near future?
You know, I haven't actually thought about it until now, I guess. I'm definitely doing Toronto Comic-Con in March.
Nice.
Always do that one, and I always do Fan Expo, which is in August. Both are in Toronto. I have gone as far as, like, Montreal for a convention before. Whether or not I'll go down to the States, no. No, I don't have any new costumes on the radar right now. I might just fix up my Wonder Woman because I only got to wear that once and try to wear that as much as I can before I start making a new one.
Yeah, no, for sure. In fact, that was actually one of the first 2 cosplays that I saw from you was that one and then your Lara Croft one. The bloodied Laura one. That
was my favorite.
Yeah, that one's a really cool one. The thing that makes me think of is in the current Tomb Raider series, which is like 3 games now, is the Tomb Raider reboot, and then Rise, and then Shadow, which Shadow of the Tomb Raider unfortunately wasn't as good as I was hoping, but I still like them quite a bit, and like, yeah, it just reminds me of all like the brutal deaths that Laura can have when you're playing those games. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's kind of what the cosplay reminds me of with less broken bones. But
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that one's really cool. If you were to go to the States, are there any particular conventions? I know you mentioned San Diego Comic-Con, but were there any ones you've like kind of see fellow cosplayers go to, or you've seen stuff from, and you're like, man, I would like to check out that convention? It doesn't necessarily be like a comic book one, but like any con in general?
Yeah, for sure. I think New York Comic Con would probably be the first on my list.
Uh-huh.
I would love to go to San Diego Comic Con, but I think to me it feels too daunting and too much of like this is the Hail Mary of conventions, and I imagine it's very hard to get around, hard to get into, probably pay an arm and a leg for it. And I have heard that New York Comic Con is like a similar experience, just a little bit more easily accessible, I guess.
Yeah.
A little bit cheaper, maybe. Closer to me, at least.
Yeah.
So definitely that one. In terms of other conventions, I would love to somehow get into E3 one year.
Yeah. Yep, we're actually trying to... we're thinking about making a combination to try to go maybe this year. Primarily...
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because this one's going to be a very important one with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One Series X coming out. Like, it's the next gen is finally starting, so it'll be interesting to see what's
start of a decade.
Exactly.
A new decade of games.
Yep. So that's actually very interesting that they've decided. It's kind of funny that I overlooked it until that point, but yeah, it's interesting that they're wanting to start the current generation on the decade basically and drop both of them here in 2020. So that'll be really interesting. Before you grabbed your Switch, what was your primary console, or maybe you were on PC, and then what games were you playing prior to getting your Switch?
Yeah, I was definitely, and probably still always will be, a primary PC gamer. Played a lot of, a lot of Overwatch, a lot of Dead by Daylight. Those are the main two games that I probably crushed in the last year or so. I played a cool indie game called Astroneer. And it's kind of like you go and explore planets, and it's very much like Animal Crossing.
Nice.
So that obviously appealed to me. When I was growing up, I had a PlayStation 2 and an Xbox One, but I couldn't really get into console gaming for a while because maneuvering a joystick is so not first or second nature to me.
Right.
So I kind of stuck with PC just because I can't. Good old trusty mouse.
Right.
It's perfect for me. So I think I probably will stay a PC gamer.
There you go.
Until I die.
There you go. Well, and that's understandable. There are a lot of people who like that. Not to mention the fact that assuming the rig is up to snuff, you also kind of get to experience gaming at its peak performance as opposed to, not that... I wouldn't say, back in the PS2, Xbox days, yeah, the graphics were definitely watered down compared to PC counterparts. But I think one thing that the console gamers do have on their side, at least, is the fact that they're starting to catch up in terms of graphics. That, at least the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One again, because that's what it's called again. The Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 both had that thing where, they both look pretty good, especially on their upper tier versions. I was actually really surprised to see because for a while... I didn't get back into console gaming until the PS4 generation started. So before that, in between, the latter half of the 360 era to the first brunt of the PS4 era, I was just on PC gaming. So there was quite a few years that I was also just doing that. So, and I think the thing I liked about it was I always aspired to get PC gaming, but especially... around the time when I was in high school, to build that rig when you don't have a job and you were trying to get that $1,500 computer, you were just oof, that is pricey compared to this $300, $400 box I can just get right now.
Yeah, that's usually always the biggest hurdle of getting into PC gaming. Is the actual acquiring of the PC.
And another problem is I have that mentality where I always have to have the best. So when that new graphics card drops every other year, I get, or every year sometimes, I get caught in that thing where I'm just even though mine is more overpowered than I need, I'm but the new one's out now. But now I need to upgrade the motherboard. But then now I need to upgrade the RAM. And then I'm just oh god. Yeah. I think the last rig I was running was already on it was on 32 gigs of RAM. Some ridiculous bullshit that console gaming's not going to be on for a while. And then it was just, I was just thinking about it and I was just yeah, that was a lot of money for probably shit. But it's nice to have. But and then I just kind of switched back to consoles primarily because... there used to be such a big divide in releases between PC and console, and so many indie gems now come out on console anyways that since I like to buy all the consoles, that's another thing, because when you look at, I'm buying 3 consoles a generation or more sometimes if I get the iterative upgrade, and because of that, in the end, it costs a lot too, but I kind of have a little more flexibility in terms of what I can cover. So, because more exclusives do tend to drop on console now than PC, so because of that, I can enjoy Bloodborne or Horizon Zero Dawn and not have to either wait if they're timed exclusives, or sometimes they just never come out on PC. So I'm just kind of like, okay, that's the one thing where I think consoles are holding on because of that.
Games haven't even.
No.
Yeah, both those.
They have no intent for releasing those on PC right now.
I wish they would put Bloodborne on PC.
Bloodborne and Horizon Zero Dawn would both look like amazing on PC. I think, which is kind of funny too, right? Because then you have,
especially Horizon Zero Dawn's a good game.
It's really good.
You don't have to put it on Xbox. Put it on PC though.
Yeah. There's that.
Put it on Switch.
Oh god, everything should be on Switch. That's just my thing right now. Like, Switch, as will come up in the upcoming news, is just one of those things where I love it may be underpowered compared to your Xbox One or your PlayStation 4, but the fact that you're able to take some of those titles, like Witcher 3, on the go. Yes, the graphics are a little more toned down, obviously, but I just never thought that I'd be able to play like a 120-hour game like The Witcher on the go. Like, the fact that I have that Switch Lite, and I'm just like, I'm playing this. Like, I can be at the break room at work, instead of eating lunch, I'm just like firing up a game real quick. If I'm editing a video, I just have my Switch always right there in sleep mode. It takes like, I just do the little unlock thing to turn it on, and then boom, I'm already in the middle of the game. Like, as opposed to, I know it sounds super lazy for anyone who hasn't like seen the convenience of the Switch to like be like, well, I mean, your PlayStation, you can just hit the PlayStation button, it fires it on and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, then but you're chained in front of the TV and blah blah.
Yeah, it's stable.
So yeah, to me, the ideal setup: have your gaming PC and a Switch. That way, you could still get some of that console exclusive stuff, but then you still have your PC. And honestly, at $200, I think the Switch Lite is one of the best sells you can give. If you have no intent on playing your Switch on TV anyways, which I don't, because if I was going to play it on TV anyways, I would just play my PlayStation 4 or my Xbox or whatever.
Exactly.
So it's just that perfect companion piece to anything. Like your Switch and your PS4, your Switch and your Xbox One, or your Switch and your PC. I think that's like the ideal pairing. I think everyone should have a Switch to pair with their favorite gaming medium. I think that's just like the right amount of way to have it. Especially because Animal Crossing's not coming out on any of those other platforms, and you need Animal Crossing. So that's the way it should be. When you were growing up, and it's weird to say this just because I feel so old now when I hear that people are in school post 2000, like later 2000. You're not too bad. You're like actually not like far off from me. But sometimes we'll have guests on, and then they say when they graduate, and I'm just like, oh, that's they're going to be able to tell me okay boomer and do all that good stuff. But so. What growing up when you were much younger, what were some of your favorite video games when you were a children?
Oh my goodness, definitely. Was it Pac-Man World 2? Is that the one I'm thinking of? The one where it's like 3D Pac-Man and you get to go to different worlds?
I think so.
That was one of my favorite games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good one.
I played a lot of Galaga when I was a kid.
Galaga's good.
Not on like any old school system, unfortunately, but I did have a Game Boy Advance that my dad bought for me, and there was a Galaga kind of remaster that you could play, and I would play that nonstop. I love The Simpsons Hit and Run, and I'm still like hoping that I can try and find some sort of emulator that would work for me to play it on my PC that doesn't like compromise the quality at all.
Yeah.
Let's see. Overwatch is probably currently still my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But from when I was a kid, obviously that doesn't count.
Right.
But I think for a while I was playing League of Legends when I was in high school. And I think that's probably one of the games that I can kind of keep going back to every few years, and I feel like it hasn't changed that much, but it's just like improved.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's gotta be my top one. Oh, you know what? No, the most gimmicky game that I can think of that I loved was the Jedi Power Battle.
Oh yeah, that one was good.
On Dreamcast? That was PlayStation.
Yeah, PlayStation 1.
Oh fuck yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man.
That was PlayStation 1.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I forgot that one existed. That to me, even though Jedi Fallen Order is good, that's the kind of games I had fun with and think of when I think of Star Wars. Is a little
arcade,
like more arcadey.
Yeah.
Like even when Jedi Academy, no, what's the one with Katarn? The one that got ported. Well,
Jedi Outcast.
Yes, Outcast. The one that just got ported to the Switch recently.
Yeah.
The fact that they modernized those controls, but it still has the more casual, fun gameplay, is really cool. I think from what I've seen in Jedi Fallen Order, that's a little weird to me, is the fact that Jedis in all the games I played growing up were always super overpowered. You're just shredding everyone. Yeah. And then in Fallen Order, because they made it more Souls-like and a little more difficult, you're like, this a droid that's just, you're hammering on and you're just like, why is it taking me like 15 minutes to beat one droid? It's like, hurry up. Like, you know, the pacing's a little weird to me for a Star Wars game, but it's a cool game still, nonetheless. I think Fallen Order is one of the biggest surprises because I have faith in Respawn, but I hate EA, so I really expected it to be a total piece of shit, but pretty good. It looks like EA actually let Respawn be Respawn and actually make a good game. I just think that the ambition of going after that type of game was very left field. Because a lot of people did not gather that from the preview trailers and everything. A lot of people were very surprised that they went the Souls-like route. When they were just like, it plays like Dark Souls, people were just like, what the fuck? I did not get that from the promotional material. It looked like an action-adventure game in terms of like more loose. But it did pretty good. Although the statistic they used was so bogus. Did you hear about that? Like, they gave it, they said it's the most successful Star Wars game, and then they added like a trillion modifiers. It was like, that came out during this time, that has this thing, that did this, and also released like around this time. And it was just like, what? Like, of course, it's probably the only game that ever did that statistic. Like, yes, it's the only game to come out at the end of the year in November in the year 2019. That's a Star Wars game that has Souls-like combat. No shit. Yeah. So that was a little weird where they tried to inflate the numbers a little bit on how good it sold. But from what I understand, even that nonsense accolade aside, it still sold pretty well. So it's good to know that EA is still having a hard time killing off Respawn like they do every other studio. Yeah. So
now if only they could make Battlefront like a fucking good game. Yeah.
I don't know how they keep fucking that up every single time. That was probably one of the biggest disappointments. So where Fallen Order was a great surprise, Battlefront 1 and 2 were probably some of the biggest disappointments in terms of rebooting a series I truly loved growing up. Because the original Battlefront 1 and 2, holy shit, those games were so damn good. I'm sure they feel clunky now. I know someone's going to get mad and be like, well, I bet you played now. They play like shit. A lot of games I loved growing up played like shit. But or they feel like shit now compared to, because of quality of life features are missing or whatever. But they were still good in context. The current Battlefront games were never good. So it's one of those things where just like, those were sad.
Oh yeah, I didn't even bother with Battlefront 2 because of how bad the first one was.
Well, and then the problem with that is then they would double down on microtransactions. Yeah. The first one had the issue. Of course, welcome back to the podcast where we're going to fucking talk about bullshit politics and video games, and now we're on... before we get into that, Samira, you're not sponsored by any video game company or anything like that directly, right? We always like to do that disclaimer before we lose your sponsorship or anything. But
I wish, but no.
Well, I hope you never had any intentions of working with EA.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully no EA and whatever. I'm going to try to curb talking about Blizzard for your sake in this case, but... there's that. Blizzard is a sadder case for me because I've always said fuck EA, but Blizzard's a little sad for me because they weren't they were never an amazingly moral company, but they weren't bad to the point of their transgressions lately, and it does kind of suck because sometimes I do miss playing Overwatch, but I gotta be true to my boycott, and I still can't play it right now, but the way they handled the league stuff for that, the Overwatch League
God,
7
yeah.
was a mess too. There were several things. Then the Hong Kong Blizzard thing with Hearthstone just topped the shit cake for me, where I just kind of had to stay away from that. The funny thing is, the rest of the franchise I'm really crazy about. Like, Diablo is good. Like, I like Diablo 2 a lot. 3 was a nightmare because that also had the auction house controversy and using real money and all that stuff. So, obviously, Blizzard, not clean of controversy, but the latest one just was a whole thing. Primarily because I do have a connection with some people from Hong Kong, so I guess it digs a little deeper for me, but I also do think that I got a little upset about it, and I know I got very extremist. I like I said, I wasn't going to go in on Blizzard, and here I go. But,
just now too.
Oh, well, too bad. But anyways, it's one of those things where, like, I even went as far as to saying on social media where I was just like, all right, so from what I gather, everyone, if Donald Trump had made Overwatch, you guys would be cool, right? And then that was not the most well-accepted statement, but it was just one of those things where I was just like, they did do a bad, and I'm okay if people still want to, like, play their games and stuff. I just was just like, but let's all talk about this thing. It's just that was my biggest issue, is that no one wanted to talk about the political issue aside it, and everyone was just, And then Jay Allen Black did his non-apology where he basically, and that was the thing too, that was the insult to injury for me, was when the Blizzard CEO went up at BlizzCon, apologized for nothing, and then walked away as if he did a good. That was the other thing that kind of pissed me off, because he apologized without even addressing what it is, because a lot of people I know still don't know about the whole controversy with Hong Kong. And
he just said
if you didn't, he just basically said, hey, we feel bad about that thing.
The thing that happened.
The thing that happened. Say
what it was.
But there are probably so many people that were at BlizzCon who had no idea, and I know that's why they did it. They were doing, And of course, they got what they wanted. The headline read that Blizzard apologized, and unfortunately, you could see it on social media. A lot of people's boycotts ended and went down, and they just went back to business as usual. But I'm sticking by what it is, and there's that. EA, on the other hand, fuck them. I hope that Bobby Kotick and Activision Blizzard, that whole thing. That was the merger from hell, too, was when Activision and Blizzard got married. That shit was...
It was definitely not a good...
Activision's another company that's notorious for shit practices. So then when they got in bed together, I was just like, oh god, Activision Blizzard is the new merger. It's not like with Square Enix, where I was just like, this could be interesting. Like Squaresoft and Enix, I guess. But okay, and those two, god, they should just merge with EA also.
Let's not.
I'm waiting for the world we live in, where we have EA Ubisoft as a merger, and then we'll lose our minds because Origin and Uplay are... That's what I was gonna say. That's one thing I don't miss from PC gaming, because I hear about it whenever I'm trying to play Titanfall or something, is when I hear about launchers, and of course when I record my videos, I usually do use the PC version to record because it's easier, but when I have to fire up a game and then Uplay or Origin just shits on my screen, and I'm just like, ew, go away. It's sad, because I'm a big Sims mark, or at least Sims 3. I wasn't really crazy about Sims 4, but I love Sims 3. But when I have to fire that up, and then the Origin pops up, and then the Sims launcher comes up, and I'm just like, what the hell? I'm just like, this is basically just pop-ups at this point.
And if it's been a while since you played, you need to update your client.
Oh, God,
yeah. Oh, geez.
Yeah, the game hasn't had an update in 8 years, but we have to update the client. Yeah. Why? I don't even want the client to be open.
No, we gotta update it, though.
Yeah, so there's that.
Uplay is so bad.
Yeah, Uplay is the worst, though, for sure. I was listening to an older episode of Super Best Friend Cast, and that was one thing I agreed with Pat, is where Pat was just like, alright, so you're playing on PC, right? If you're gonna play, and you got Origin, if you really need to play, whatever the latest EA game is, fine, deal with Origin. If you have to play and you gotta launch whatever other launcher, that's fine. If it's Uplay, just don't play that game, because it's not worth it. No game is good enough to be worth using Uplay. And the thing that sucks too is when you buy an Ubisoft game on Steam, and then you still have to watch Uplay.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
get it.
You would think that would be the whole point.
Because at least if you have Sims 3 on Steam, you can skip Origin.
You can,
to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But with Assassin's Creed, because I have Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
That's exactly the one I was
on
thinking
Steam.
Of. Yep, and because it happens when you fire it.
I gotta go into Uplay for that shit.
Yep, it segues you right through Uplay
So
and then, of course, that was the biggest problem with when Epic Games shit itself onto the scene and added another launcher. We're just entering that era that's, like, insane. Like, so PC
every
gaming
developer's gotta have their own fucking launcher.
And that's the
now.
problem, you know? And then, what developer was
Rockstar?
it recently? Yeah, thank you. Rockstar then was just like, let's add our own launcher.
Download the launcher and get San Andreas for free. By the way, it's the Steam version of San Andreas.
And that's the thing. So you have issues like that. Oh god, the ugly cough came back. But you had that problem where you run into that, exactly. So the San Andreas Rockstar version is just the Steam version, so you have to open that. And then you had the issue with Tetris Effect on the Epic Games Store, where to run Tetris on the Epic Games Store, it has to also open up Steam, because it uses the Steam launcher on top of that. It's just I just don't get it, and that's the thing. Yeah. We're entering the era of PC gaming have a million launchers, and now when it comes to streaming services getting divided on your favorite shows or just going to all these different clients, it's like Christ. Like I can almost forgive Disney for because Disney owns. It also scares me how much Disney owns.
Oh yeah.
But because of how much they own, it made sense to me for them to pull content and just be like, we can make all the monies instead of licensing this out to Netflix. So let's make all the money. I could almost get on board with that. But the fact that now, geez, like honestly, like me alone as an example, I'm running through Netflix, which I could probably live without, with the exception of like some of the exclusives are pretty good. Hulu, I probably would run more. And then I have the one that I use for all my Korean shows. Then we have Crunchyroll for anime streaming. Mm-hmm. And then Disney Plus. And then it's just like, I'm probably missing some. But the fact that I have to have that many... Now, that's actually the main ones. And then, of course, technically, you got YouTube as another one. But the fact that I'm having to run, like... And you know what I mean? It went from, wow, only $9 a month to 9 times all those services. I'm just like, that's already almost a cable.
You're probably paying more collectively for that stuff now than you would for, like, satellite television.
Yeah, which is crazy because back in the day when Netflix first converted from DVD to streaming, and that was one of the one of a kind, at least, or one of the few at the time, it was just like, wow, I just have Netflix and this is great. I just got good internet, Netflix, done.
I can save money this way.
Yep, now it's all divided and it's almost like they've tricked us into paying more. It's fucking wild, but it's fine, I guess. I mean, at least we do have access to all these really good shows without commercials, so it's kind of like, okay, I guess it's still almost worth taking that dagger to the side. Do you have a favorite video game soundtrack, like one that you heard? Not a licensed one, because I think we all could probably just say Tony Hawk, but is there an original soundtrack to a game, Final Fantasy or otherwise, that sticks with you to this day and you still really love, that you heard maybe when you were younger, but you still hear it now and you still really like the music from it?
Oh, man. I really just want to talk about Far Cry Blood Dragon.
Oh, yes! Ooh, that's a good one.
Best soundtrack ever.
That was good.
The ridiculousness of that game is just like... It's almost what I'm... What's up?
It's beautiful. It's a work of art.
Yeah, it is. It is. The fact that they took, Far Cry 3 and then was just like, let's make it way better. Like, Far Cry 3 was fine. For those people who are about to get really angry right now and get mad at me about it, Far Cry 3 was good, with the exception of the fact that they had those fucking bullshot, like the bullshots for those who don't know, bullshit screenshots. Far Cry 3 has some of the most notoriously straight lies for screenshots for the promotions of Far Cry 3 before that shit came out. Just straight up lying about what the game looks like. Like, half of that stuff's not even in the game, and half of it wasn't even real in-engine graphics. But anyways, but Blood Dragon, holy shit, when that shit dropped, and the fact that they got fucking Michael Biehn, 80s rock star to freaking do, like, just like, if you see an 80s movie, you know Michael Biehn, and then now you're just like, he's the protagonist of this, like, faux 80s game, is great. the self-referencing humor, and of course the aesthetic graphics plus the legendary soundtrack is just amazing.
I love the part where he was talking about the whole like real winners don't do drugs.
That was great too.
I love that part.
That's so funny. And just the ridiculousness of the weapons, and then the enemies all look so stupid, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was good pick.
I need to actually finish that game. I never got to.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a shame that when you launch it on PC, what client decides to pop up. Fuck you, you play. We just wanted to shit on you, so I brought up Blood. No, anyways, no, Far Cry Blood Dragon. Genuinely good game. Definitely one of my favorite ones that someone brings up. Not to like shit on any of our previous guests, but usually people choose something really old. Like really old. That game is surprisingly old, but like when I think about now and how long it's been since that game came out, I get a little like, it's amazing how much time's flown by. But that's a great pull. That's a little less expected, but I really like that pick.
You know, it almost it makes me feel like because Blood Dragon was one of the first things that I can remember where this whole, like, 80s nostalgia stuff
it was one of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
Because shortly after that, they had, what the fuck, Kung Fury. That was shortly after that.
Yep.
And
it kind of started that boom
of
everyone wanting basically everything to be Blade Runner.
Yes.
That's basically what that came to. And then eventually we got the new Blade Runner, which was fine.
It was good
it was good. It was just one of those things where you know how I am about remakes and stuff, especially with movies. I'm just like, can we just get something new? Like, I understand it's not that hard, but maybe don't shit out something, But yeah, Blade Runner was actually good, the new one. It's just one of those things where I was just like, Blade Runner was so iconic, it eventually led to itself happening again. Basically, is like how legendary that film is. But that one's really good. Another one that comes to mind that took that style that just came out either early last year or late the year before was Katana Zero. That's a really awesome game with that same vibrant neon stuff, cool sound, like cool Vaporwave soundtrack, and it's one of those games where you basically have to. They're short levels, but you have to beat them perfect. Like you just die in one hit or whatever. So you're kind of flying through as this really this samurai guy, but like in a future world, kind of makes me think Samurai Jack when he goes time traveling, which is great. Because Samurai Jack is badass and deserved a super good game. But kind of think about it, I think they did have a bad Samurai Jack game, which is
pretty sure there was one,
which is a shame. But one of the biggest disappointments of a game where I was hyped when a game got announced for something I liked, and then it was awful, was Afro Samurai.
I had a feeling you were going that way.
Afro Samurai. I loved Afro Samurai when it first came out.
Like the first game was good.
Yeah, the first game was okay. Yeah, it was alright, and then the second one was shit.
I remember playing like a build of Afro Samurai 2 at PAX South one year.
It was so bad.
I remember it was played fine, and then the actual thing came out, and it was worse than that. I was like, what? What happened?
Yeah, that shit blows my mind, because that's not the first game to do that. You have No Man's Sky was another one that looked promising and then shit the bed. No Man's Sky was, of course, able to turn itself around and is actually one of my favorite games to play last year, which I would have never thought. I shit on No Man's Sky so bad, and well-deservedly.
I think we all did.
Yeah. When it came out, it just deserved all... It was a big lie. But they were able to turn it around. And like I said, that precedence is still scary, though, because it's one of those things where they've now set the thing of, we can always just fix it later. And then you have Anthem and Fallout 76, which are both shit piles that are never going to get good, and thought that they could do the No Man's Sky formula. And that's the thing I was worried about, is that when No Man's Sky pulled it off, everyone thinks they can do a freaking 180. But that's the problem. Is like the AAA industry is filthy rich. The fact that a lot of them are basically doing all this early access beta stuff but charging you AAA prices is bullshit. Yeah. Like if Fallout 76 had just said, "Hey, put $10 down, and until the game's finished, we'll collect the rest," or whatever, something like that, I'd be like, okay, whatever. I mean, that's a thing. But the fact that they're just like, "No, give us it all now," and they still have not, Jim Sterling made a very good point where he talked about how a lot of people were asking him if Fallout 76 was going to be on his shittiest games of 2019 list, to which he had to remind so many people it came out in 2018 and it's still this broken. Like, the fact that it had been over a year now when he was asked that and it was still fucked up is crazy. And that one was sad because I thought online Fallout would have been cool.
What is it?
Is Star Citizen even done?
That was considered one of the biggest scams of all time because it's still not done. And that shit finished its crowdfunding forever ago.
Yeah, what I was
yeah.
gonna say is, like, it seems sad how some of these games, it's like you're buying an early access build, but they're not advertising it as an early access build.
No, they're charging $60.
Except for maybe when Todd Howard did make that statement, how, it's still a working thing or whatever.
Yeah, but the problem is, that's just Todd Howard putting toilet paper under his ass before he shits. Like, it's still, just because you anticipate it doesn't change the stupidity of the idea. And that's not me, like fighting with you, that's just me just saying, like, you're right, and then I also hate that he did that in a way where I'm just like, fuck you for, like, padding it, you bastard. And then in terms of a delay that disappointed me, and I'm not talking about Shenmue 3, because fuck that game, but with Star Mazer, we played that at Original PAX South, or I played it, I forgot if everyone else did. Did you?
I forgot that I did the Kickstarter for that.
Yeah, so what happened with that is, some people got mad at it, but it's not entirely the devs' fault. What happened is, they, because God, what was the first PAX South? Because that's when I played it.
That was like, 4 years ago now?
Something like that. So about 4 years ago, I played it at PAX South, loved it so, the idea of it and the aesthetic of it so much, went home, backed it immediately, because their Kickstarter was still going on at the time, whenever it was. And then, what happened is, they had to kind of start some new builds from scratch because some of the team changed. And then, as it was finally starting to look like it might actually come out, it's been in early access on Steam for a while now. Then it also got pulled for a bit, then it went back and forth. Because then the composer said that, so she signed a contract that basically said that from how they understood it, that she's doing the music for this game and blah, 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 blah. But then she kind of like wanted to renege the deal in the middle of it, and then they came to a disagreement, and then she basically was like, well then fuck you guys, you can't use the music for your game. And then so Star Mazer all of a sudden just lost the entire soundtrack.
Jeez.
So they had to start from scratch in terms of finding a new composer and doing all that stuff, and that was a whole mess. So that's one of those ones where I'm pretty sad that it still hasn't come out, because at this point, it's either going to be one of the many games I backed and then I totally haven't redeemed yet and forgot. God, I culled out my list this year of like Kickstarter games I kickstarted that came out like a year or two ago already. And like the Kickstarter was from like 4 or 5 years ago that I just totally forgot because it took like 2 years for the game to come out. And I'm just like, right. Hopefully this code still works. Surprisingly, most of them did still. I had to ask the dev for one of them to, whatever, and they were nice enough to do it. But I was just like, shit, I forget sometimes that I back some of these games. But at least there's that. All right, before we get into the news, let's go ahead and do the channel plugs, as we're about like a bit into the episode already. Yeah, quite a bit into the episode already. So, Mr. Josh, where can everybody find you on the internets?
Twitter and Instagram at Joshiro Joestar. YouTube is ShiroPlay5.
All right, you can find my stuff at ZD Rocker on most places, and SlimationEntertainment.com, as well as DisconnectedCast.com for the podcast. And Miss Samira Khan, where can everybody find you on the internet, at least where you want them to find you?
Twitter and Instagram at Sassmira. I do have a Twitch channel as well.
There you go. We'll have all that linked below in the podcast notes, and let's get right into the news, which, I'll be fair, it's been a pretty slow news week still. Everyone's still kind of recovering from the new year, but it's what it is. Let's see. Someone leaked the list. Someone that worked at GameStop leaked the list, and they were showing that, other than Tokyo Mirage Sessions, obviously already had a confirmed date for a while, they were showing that the ports for Darksiders Genesis and Warriors Orochi 4 are supposed to be dropping in February, I believe on Valentine's Day, but at that point, I'm going to be too busy thinking of, Animal Crossing got pushed out to March, I forgot. Well.
Yeah.
But I'll still be busy with probably Cyberpunk and Final Fantasy VII Remake will be around that time also, so. Still busy. GameStop Italy, which I didn't think was a thing, because I always thought that GameStop was the only GameStop here in the States, and I thought everywhere else it was EB Games, but I know in Canada it's EB Games, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I remember seeing GameStop when I was a kid, but definitely not anymore.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. So Electronic Boutique, or EB Games, bought out GameStop a while back, but they changed the branding to EB Games everywhere, and then in the States they kept it to GameStop. even after
weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird. But apparently in Italy as well, they also didn't change it because it's just GameStop Italy, which is weird. That's really a subtitle. Mm-hmm. But apparently someone from there leaked a pre-order slot for a game, Assassin's Creed Ragnarok. Now, in prior promotional material for Watch Dogs Legion, people did see what looked like in games that were going to be teased to, or excuse me, I think it was Division 2 actually. You saw Watch Dogs Legion teaser, as well as what looked like may have been some sort of Viking-looking Assassin's Creed game that they just didn't touch on. So It seems like this leaked listing for a pre-order, plus the promotional material that kind of came out and showed something like that, looks like the next Assassin's Creed is probably going to be taking place in the Viking times, which is interesting. Assassin's Creed is definitely a series that has had its really bad games as well as its really fun games. Assassin's Creed 4 for the longest time was my favorite one, but now with Origin and Odyssey coming out, the fact that they reworked that combat system to be so much better, fun, and not as clunky feeling.
Yeah.
God damn, those games are good. So I'm actually kind of excited for this. I'm really sad that the devs at Ubisoft pretty much said a long time ago that they're never going to do Japan. And one of the main reasons is, even though it's the most, they said that from then to now has always been the most, like since Assassin's Creed was barely a baby game franchise, everyone wants Assassin's Creed in Japan. But they said that the reason they're never going to do it is they know that game will fail no matter what. Yeah. People's expectations for it are so high in what they would want from Assassin's Creed in Japan that they'll never meet that requirement. And I'll give them credit. Sometimes I feel people should still try. In this case, I think they're absolutely dead on. I think so many people will be like, that's wrong, or this is missing, or he didn't really use that kind of sword, it should be this kind of sword.
They don't want to face the wrath of the weebs.
Basically, the wrath of the weebs is too strong for Ubisoft, so they don't want to do that. But I think that the games have also been getting better lately, where, now some people disagree with me on this, but I was not a fan of, what's-his-face, the whole Abstergo thing, and Desmond and all that stuff. Yeah. I just didn't find that story good, so I hated the fact that I was playing, like, I'd be playing as Ezio, or as
Enzo Ferrari.
Yeah, plays Enzo Ferrari. No, I was playing as Ezio or Connor, and then you just get pulled. You're just really into it, and you just get pulled into a computer office, and you're just like, "What the fuck? I want to know what happens to. I don't care about this." Who's this?
Well, the thing that
I'm trying to get away from this.
Yeah, what I especially hated was that it makes you put up with that. Yeah. And so so part of me is like, okay, I guess I have a little bit of an interest to see what's going to happen with Desmond. And then the ending.
Oh god, then it got really stupid.
Yeah, the way 3 ended just really pissed me off.
It didn't help. Like, I personally thought 3 was an interesting game because I think the whole Native Americans thing was a cool subject matter.
The game itself is fine.
But I do get why people wanted more Ezio, and like they were just so down that this guy's so solemn and serious.
Yeah.
And like, but I'm just like, dude, if you know what happened to the Native Americans, I think he has all the right to be very solemn and fucking serious.
Connor got dealt a bad hand.
Yeah.
I mean, Ezio's a tough act to follow.
He is.
But I think as a character, Connor's good.
Yeah, Connor was interesting.
His story was interesting.
And the timeline, it was an interesting time frame to do.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I had gotten to the DLC, which I think had, like, Lincoln and, like...
Oh, I never got to touch the DLC.
Yeah, there was, or the Washington... I forgot what era it is. I'm bad with fucking presidents in early American...
And I really don't want to dig out my Xbox 360.
No, you don't. But you could just wait till there's a good Steam sale and buy it on there.
Have they ported it to Switch yet?
Oh, God. They actually did.
Ooh.
And it comes with Liberation as well. So, yeah. That's actually the cool thing, too. Again, more reasons to play stuff on Switch is you have Assassin's Creed 3, which came with all the DLC plus Liberation. Then recently, Assassin's Creed 4 also dropped alongside with all the DLC plus Rogue. Assassin's Creed Rogue is easily one of the most underrated Assassin's Creed games that no one played, really. Because it came out right after 4, which was a amazing game that everyone was just like, oh, what's this?
Yeah, I have Rogue on PS3. I just never got around to playing it.
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly good, especially if you enjoy
hear.
4. It's a great companion piece. So when they added that on the Rebel, as they call the Rebel Collection on Switch.
Also, I like the fact that he is with the Templars.
Yes.
So I think that's a good
contrast.
Yeah.
Yep. It was nice. It was nice. That was a good game. Very unfortunately underrated, but yeah. But anyways, yeah, no, that's a thing, and I'm glad that Assassin's Creed's really pulling away from that because everyone really just gives a shit about the cool, for example, the last couple, the cool Egyptian shit and the cool Roman shit. And I also like the fact that they're starting to take a lot of creative liberties with starting to be a little less historically accurate and just having like actual like Anubis statues coming to life and shit, and like
I mean to be fair, the way the story was, it's fine for them to do that shit. Yeah.
I'd rather they do that sometimes.
I'm really out of the loop. Like I haven't played the last two.
I think if you
the last one I played was Syndicate,
which was okay. It was fine.
I was
it was
enjoying
definitely
it.
no Unity.
This is true. I still have that one that I need to eventually get to.
At least it's patched now. Man, I remember playing it. I remember playing it without the day one patch. My God, sometimes I'll go to play or see a thing like what we did with Cats, and we got to see it with the unfinished CGI.
Yeah.
For those who haven't checked it out yet, our full play-by-play reviews up on the YouTube. But anyways, we also had something like, oh man, I thought about Cats, and I just have Cats on the brain. God damn it. They've ruined my life once again. Fuck you, Cats.
Jellicle games for
It's really bad.
Cats.
But, anyways, Cats is shit. That's what it turned into now. But they've really improved. Oh, Unity, right. Assassin's Creed Unity is one of the few games that everyone talked about how busted it was, but it was really broken. Like, when we played it, and the fact that the people were sticking to each other, the fact that I was able to fall through the world more than once, it's just like... Holy crap, I couldn't believe just how unfinished that game was. The legendary one, everyone has probably at least seen a screenshot of. I unfortunately didn't get to experience it myself, was the person whose face was missing in one of the cutscenes, and you just saw the eyeballs floating. And, like some of the muscular tissue, but like the face itself was just split open. Yeah. And apparently the whole cutscene went like that, and it was a nightmare. But there's that. Watch Dogs Legions talked a bit more about stuff. I'm going to link the article below because it's a lot of... They go more into very detailed info on the way the mechanics work. Sounds like more Watch Dogs, which is not a bad game. Aiden, I think that was his name in the first game, was kind of a boring protagonist, and he was he had very stupid intentions and very edgelordy, but the game itself was an interesting concept. Watch Dogs 2, the protagonist was a little more interesting, but then there were some weird moments like what they did with Lara Croft in the latest Tomb Raider series, where they almost desensitized them to death a little too much, where it contrasts too much what their character's supposed to be like. Like they try to build... Because Laura, the first Tomb Raider in the reboot, was very, like, offended she killed people and like didn't want to. She only killed to survive. There's that very deep scene that stuck with me where like it was like implied like almost a rape scene basically, and like she fights her way out of that. Basically only when she was really pushed to her edge, her soul was like broken later on in the game, and she just really snapped and had to fight to survive. And I like the fact that they built her on the point of being a little more realistic, because killing people isn't this like easy thing to do like everyone tries to make it off to be in fiction. And I like the way they were carrying it on with her character. Follow the next couple of games where all of a sudden she's just a killing machine. She's fucking up people and like knocking them off of cliffs, and she don't give a fuck. But then she'll still have weird moments where like she's just drenched in blood and killed like a whole room of people and be like, I can't believe I killed someone. And I'm just like, are you serious? Like, you just annihilated everyone. How are you...
Awkward time to process that.
Yeah. So they do the kind of same thing with the pro tag in Watch Dogs 2. It's a little weird where he has a scene where he's just like, I killed someone. And then like I'll go to a thing where like I just like drop a car onto like a group of people, and I'm just like, how is the guy who just got like shell shocked that he killed his first person by accident just doing this shit? Like what? Like that's a little weird. But anyways, Watch Dogs Legion seems fine, going to be taking place in the UK, despite being about a post-Brexit UK. According to the developers, Ubisoft, it's not political at all and has nothing to do with politics. It's just about Brexit. So, yeah, Ubisoft was the worst about that. So many of their games...
politics
like, the thing that sparked that was Division 2.
Yeah.
Division 2, for those who haven't played it, is a game that's clearly about what will happen to America without gun control. And the whole narrative is literally tells you the world went to shit because of the lack of gun control. And now we're in a fucking crazy world where everyone just shoots each other and loots each other and every day is a survival, blah, blah, blah. And of course people were just like... oh, gun control political message. And then Ubisoft was just like, don't worry guys, it's just a fictional world. This has nothing to do with politics. It is about gun control in America, but it has nothing to do with politics. It's like, what? You can't just say that.
Yeah.
You can't, just because you're saying it has nothing to do with it doesn't mean that it doesn't have anything to do with it. And so Watch Dogs Legion's Brexit. I still think that the fact that they're pushing it as quote unquote play as any person in the world is a little weird. They're still not very clear about that, and I think it's because people are going to be a little disappointed with probably how limited that actually is.
Might be.
What I feel like it really is you can, but there's only like maybe 10 archetypes, where when you're walking around, Mark and Eric are the same character type, where they're slightly different. I think they're going to have like auto-generated backgrounds and their little profiles you can read. But I feel like they can't think of infinite amounts of play styles. To me, that makes no sense that they can develop a game like that. But anyways, it looks interesting. I just hope that they don't do what they did with Watch Dogs 2 when they had like the actual like 15 versions of the game, where they had to release that chart that had a cross-reference of what came with what. You know, that was one of the biggest fuck-ups on like just pure greed coming out, is the fact that they had that many limited editions. And over half the limited editions didn't even come with the game. It was that type of thing. It was still part of that era where
was that
you
when
can
they had
buy...
like the random, like, you might get this stuff with it, or whatever?
It wasn't random. It's just people were misunderstanding what version was exactly what version. There was a version with an expensive RC car. There was a version with the mask of the guy from the game. There was a version that I think mostly content creators and influencers got it. That was like this huge crate that had like a pack of Red Bull that was like Watch Dogs branded and all this weird shit. And I was just like, what is this? But Ubisoft usually is some of the worst at it. Assassin's Creed is known for having some really ridiculous limited editions. Like the one for Origin had like the huge like statue. It was like a fucking like $500 version, and like it had like this crazy intricate statue of like this, you know, whatever. But Watch Dogs, more Watch Dogs. We'll see how it goes. I think the trailer's a little funny. People seem to... The part of the trailer seems to stick with people is the crazy grandma killer. Oh, yeah. You know, the old British lady that just pops a guy in the face with a gun in like the first 10 seconds of her introduction. So there's that. Did you play much Watch Dogs?
Did I?
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I'm trying to think what year that was now. It's been 2013, 14?
Yeah, something like that. It's been a while since the first one came out.
It's been a while. I remember it being super, super glitchy for me, though.
It was. One of the notorious things everyone saw was when the train did a fucking, like, it went, like, drifted.
I remember hearing about
just did
that.
A big old, like, no, it was bad.
I had my car fly across the map, like, at one point.
Oh, man.
Completely other side of the map.
Yep. And Ubisoft games that definitely have their problems with polish.
Yeah, Ubisoft and their glitches, man. Like, I remember the day when, like, the worst thing I experienced was when I played Assassin's Creed 3 and you meet Samuel... I think it was Samuel Adams you meet?
Yes.
And he's like, follow me to the place or whatever, and he's just standing there.
Yeah, that shit was funny.
And I was like, wait.
Follow you where?
Yeah, I'm like, are we waiting on something? Like, is there a QTE or
Nope, follow
like,
me, and you're just standing there?
Yeah, and I look it up on YouTube, and, like, there it is working fine. Yeah. I was like, okay, so it's just me. So...
Yeah, one of the glitchiest games, even though it's one of my favorite ones that I played recently, was The Witcher 3, and I can confirm that The Witcher 3 still has some of its bugs, even in the Switch port. I went and I decided to jump off a hill, and Roach, of course, Roach is one of the most glitchy things in that game. Roach hit the tree, and then I went into the sky, and then Roach just like T-posed. I was trying to take so many pictures of it. It was so funny. And then Geralt was in a sitting position, but off of Roach, and like perpetually moving away from Roach in the sky. And Roach was just stuck T-posing in the sky. It was so funny. And I was just like, yep, Witcher 3 is still broken. But the game itself is so good that that's when you can kind of forgive the few times you can cause the game to do that. There was also when I got into the bar brawl at the very beginning of the game, a cat just kept walking through my chest in the cutscene. Like, Geralt was sitting there at the bar talking to the guy, and the guy's like, fuck you, Witcher, and this cat just keeps walking in and out of my chest. And then I'm just like, how is this a thing? Like, he's just like, and then like, I'm just like, please stay out of my body, cat, what are you doing? It looked like they were trying to possess me. That shit was weird, but yeah.
I like the memes where they're talking about how The Witcher's not accurate to the video game.
Oh man,
there's the glitch.
If Henry Cavill just fell through the ground in the middle of an episode, I would probably laugh for a year. That shit would be so fucking funny if he just glitched out, or somebody's talking to just loses their face.
Yeah. Or if that horse started T-posing.
Oh man, that horse, man. Roach was one of the glitchiest things when that game first dropped, and he's still glitching it up. Dragon Quest XII developers ensuring everyone that Dragon Quest XII is still very, very, very far away, and you should stop asking about it, and you should probably just wait. Now, they didn't actually say that, but that statement comes from someone who's been asked something a million times. But they did note that Dragon Quest XII, really far away. Dragon Quest XI, what an amazing port that dropped on Switch this year. That is easily the best version. The fact that you can switch from the full HD graphics to the 16-bit or whatever, 16-bit graphics is awesome. The fact that you can just switch in the chapel to do that. The fact that you can go from the fully reorchestrated, reworked soundtrack or the original soundtrack. You have the costumes from Dragon Quest IX, and a few other good references to all that stuff. It is one of those things, though, where I'll say, just like the Persona series, where if you do get Dragon Quest XI and it is your first one, all the quality of life stuff is so good, it's going to be really hard to play the last 9 because the thing has just gotten so much better. It's the same thing with Persona. If you played 4, it was harder to go back. If you played 3, it was really hard to go back. And then if you played 5, Persona 5 was just so perfectly polished that, like, it is really hard to give up some of that stuff to go backwards. But in the term of Dragon Quest XI, it was a good Switch port, though. We're talking about Netflix stuff earlier. Ni no Kuni, the game, is going to be getting a movie adaptation to Netflix.
Interesting.
So, Ni no Kuni is a really good game. I didn't play the second one, but the first one was really awesome. Very long game. But the issue I had with it is its whole claim to fame, other than being a pretty good JRPG, is Ghibli art, right?
Yeah.
The problem with this Netflix thing is it isn't by Ghibli proper.
Yeah.
It's by someone who worked at Ghibli some time ago. He was involved in a couple of Ghibli's movies, but not any of the ones you're probably going to think of. In the first 3 you're going to think of are probably none of those ones. And that's the thing where I get a little concerned, where I'm just like, is this truly a Ghibli product? The game was, at least. Mm-hmm. It had the blessings of, and they did have a lot to do with actually, advising it, but this Netflix movie coming out isn't an actual Ghibli studio movie, so it's like...
If anything, they're just going to be using the aesthetic of it.
Yeah, they will be, yep. Which, to be fair, I've seen some already good fan art of Ghibli, so if I really wanted that's basically the same shit. Not to mention, some newer animes have come out that almost remind me of it sometimes, that kind of have a similar aesthetic. You can tell it's influenced by it. Mm-hmm. That look pretty good, so it's just like... It's almost the equivalent of just them doing it. So the fact that they're cheaply attaching the Ghibli name by being like, some guy from Ghibli is going to be helping Netflix do it, it's just like... I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. But Ni no Kuni, it's a good story, a good game, so there's that. Animal Crossing New Horizon trailer dropped to hype everybody up. Again, this previous week, just 30 seconds of showing you how you're going to go into debt willingly.
Nice.
Animal Crossing is probably one of the games that really harkens to all the pains of real life.
Oh yeah,
but
gotta pay your mortgage.
It makes it fun so far. Exactly. You got the mortgage. You have the pains of losing a friend, having to move away.
Yeah.
You kind of run to all those things, and I'm just like, I gotta say, that's one of the heartbreaking things. When my favorite villager starts moving away, and I see them packing, and I just keep triggering the thing to try to get them to come back. I'm like, no, please, give me the prompt to say, please stay.
Yeah.
No, don't. No, why are you so packed up already?
Yeah.
But, man.
I mean, hey, at least in Animal Crossing, it's a little bit more realistic to pay off your debts.
That's true. It's actually something you can do.
Right.
There's that. They showed the kind of like singing concert stuff. They showed a little stage where they were had KK Slider better be having some amazing jams again, because that was one of my favorite things is waiting for a Slider show to come on. I'm like, oh yeah. I think in celebration of it, everyone needs to break out their DSs and fire up that last time they played Animal Crossing for 3DS and see how awful your town looks.
Man. I'm afraid.
Oh my gosh.
See how many weeds are everywhere and everything is just awful.
See who is still hanging around in town.
Well, I would do that game cheat in the DS one, Find Wild World, where like you could like put money in the bank and then you would turn your DS off and then you turn it back on and you change the year to like 2099 and then you turn it off and you turn it back on again and then you go into the game and then your interest had like accumulated over like 90 years and you have a ton of money. So the only side effect of that was it gave you a shit ton of weeds.
Oh man, I can imagine
so
99 years
to play
worth. Yeah, I guess at least at that point you can try to get the city ordinance to get that to fuck off.
Right.
But you have and then Mr. Rossetti was probably not a fan of that either. I remember the first time I experienced Mr. Rossetti, I was just like, oh shit, they know. They're cognizant that I just tried to fuck up and cheat. They can't stop me. They basically just said they can't do anything about it, but they wagged their finger at me and I feel a little bad.
Yeah.
All he can do is like yell at you each time.
Yep, that's basically it.
I loved reading the stories of people's first experience with Mr. Rossetti, because some people were literally freaking out. Like,
it's
oh my god!
They know.
Yeah.
One of the bigger announcements to come out this week that surprised me but also didn't is that Red Dead Redemption 2 is getting ported to Switch. The listing has appeared up. It's going to have a Metacritic rating for it is pending. So we'll see. The Witcher 3 proved that it's doable because, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a big game but not much bigger than Witcher. In terms of graphical capacity, we'll see how good Rockstar is at their ports. It also kind of explains, because one of the most requested ports since the Switch dropped in late 2017 is a GTA 5 port, which people have still not gotten, which it's fine. GTA 5's, it's alright. Like I always joke about, it's not like GTA has the best stories anyways. That's one thing I'll give Red Dead 2, is that Red Dead may not be the most exciting games, and Red Dead 2 is so slow. If you thought the narrative moved slow in Red Dead 1... you're in for a fucking surprise in Red Dead 2. It moves at a snail's pace. I wasn't too keen on taking care of my little cowboy Tamagotchi because he is just... it's a little annoying sometimes. I'm cool. I'm hot. I'm cool. I need to shave. I'm just like, okay, dude. I'm just trying to do this fucking raid and you're bitching that you're fucking cold. Get out of here. Stop. I'm hungry. Shut up! It would be funnier if he actually says it, but no, you just see it on the meters. Another thing is it's really easy to trigger the people that get angry at you. Sometimes if your horse bumps into a citizen, they're like, he's attacking people, and everyone in the town will start freaking out and the cops will come and it's just like, he got in the way. I actually just tapped him and he just flopped on the ground. I'm like, but aside that, it's an interestingly ambitious port, so we'll see. It's Rockstar's first attempt at porting something massive on the Switch, so we'll see. Witcher and CD Projekt Red showed that you can do a big game. Alien Isolation and the team that ported that, I forgot their names, but they're fantastic because they're one of their first attempts to port to Switch, showed that graphically and everything can be kept when done with care. So, it shows that it's definitely possible. And I'm very curious, and I will be picking it up for Switch because it's a game I can probably play more on the go than I will sitting on my PS4 waiting for my Cowboy Tamagotchi to be rested. So, there's that. But yeah, I'm very interested. I'm very curious to see where they're going to go with that. An annoying, and I'm sure it's just clickbait, so I'm just going to gripe about people using this as a clickbait headline. One thing I see on YouTube a lot, following a lot of gaming channels, even if I don't watch them, I just got to kind of keep track of what's going on in the latest news, is everyone always goes, is the Switch Lite really necessary? A Switch Lite, worst version of the Switch, so on and so forth. And I'm just like, and when I watch those videos, it's always the same dumb things where they're just like, the Switch Lite doesn't do this, and I'm just like, yes, it's advertised to not do that. Like, you can't get mad at a thing that tells you, yeah, so like, it's basically a Switch that's like smaller, and you can't play on the TV, and it has no rumble. And I'm like, the rumble I can live without. The only reason I, like, playing on the TV was fine when I'm at home, and like, for recording content creation stuff. Now I have to use stock footage, but like, overall, I really do love the form factor of the Switch Lite. And what I was going to say earlier is that for $200, I cannot really tell you.
Yeah, it's a good price point.
I tried to go back to the 3DS and I couldn't because the Switch is so much fucking better that like I just really couldn't go back to that. And then the Wii U, same thing. I could just, a lot of those games are just getting ported to Switch anyway, so I can just play, why go back to my Wii U? The Switch is just for like a $200. I would have a hard time finding out what you can spend $200 on, especially for something gaming related that will get you as much use as I think people will get out of a Switch Lite.
Yeah,
it's just such a brilliant marketing thing. Which obviously CEO Bowser Man already talked about how ever since the Switch Lite dropped, Switch's sales have already been phenomenal, but the Switch Lite has bolstered the numbers by a shitload. And again, the form factor of it. A proper D-pad. It's just aesthetically cute as hell. Like, so many people I know just want to have it, like, even as, like, a fashion accessory. Like, it's so aesthetic looking. It's so nice and cute looking. Because, let's be fair, the original Switch is a cool thing, and what it does is still magic to me. The fact that I can take a portable console, HD console, to go.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the prettiest looking console in the beginning. So because of that, the curves that they gave it, the 35% smaller form factor, everything about it, So I just wanted to gripe about that. Fucking Linus Tech Tips and a bunch of assholes on there that are always talking about that shit. But I'm just like, why are you guys always shitting on the Switch Lite? It comes down to what Jim Sterling said with like easy mode in Sekiro. Is it gonna hurt you if you're gonna play on your true normal difficulty? No. Then who cares? Like, if you don't like the Switch Lite, don't use the Switch Lite. That's why the full size Switch exists for people who want those features. But when I converted over from the full Switch to the Switch Lite, which people called me crazy for doing that because I gave up those features. I like it. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I do like the fact that it is so much smaller and easy to just throw in my bag and take with me. So, there's that. Random rant. But speaking of rants, though, Hideki Kamiya of Platinum Games recently talked about something where he kind of bitched. He's a huge Switch fan. Like, his social media is just him posting what fancy food he's ate recently, the latest Gundam model that he's working on, or the screenshots of how much he's just bought on Switch. Like, he's always just like posting, just bought another, I bought 2 more $100 Switch gift cards to put on my Switch that I'm going to buy more stuff with. I'm just like this guy. But anyways, one thing he did bitch about, and I can at least see his argument from, he's a game developer, designer, he's been in the game for a while. The UI. He's like, I own so many games on Switch, there should be some sort of organization feature. He goes, the lack of customizability is a little like, a little lame, especially with the Xbox and PlayStation having all this stuff. It shouldn't be that hard to figure out.
Cool if they added folders like in PlayStation.
That was his main gripe though, is folders. So he basically talked about it. He said the system itself is fantastic. It's one of his favorite systems of the current gen between the PlayStation and Xbox, and he's really happy that Platinum's working so closely with Nintendo and stuff like that. But he did say that the UI is a bit shit, and that they could organize it a bit better. And to be fair, I get it, because sometimes I'll go to the main folder and I'll be like, oh shit, I have that game. I'll play when I get home. Totally forget I own that game again when I get home, because it's sitting in the last row of my games on the other side of the world. So anyway, I get where he's coming from at least. But something exciting announced about an hour ago of reporting as of this, even though this is totally live at Monday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, is that Platinum Games did announce that they have a bunch of announcements forthcoming, and they're going to be surprising people with how much content they have coming out this year, as opposed to just without dropping the quality seal. The thing about Platinum that they did announce is from now on, now they're still going to be giving Sony maybe not Xbox, and Nintendo, their exclusives. Bayo 3 is currently in development, as well as Babylon's Fall for PS4. But they said from now on, they're going to try to self-publish as much as they can, so they have full control, and they don't have the issue they've had with Bayonetta, where no shade to Nintendo, as they made very clear, but that's why Bayo 3 is taking, like, 6 years to come out.
Or the issue they had with...
or Scalebound. Yep, exactly. And they talk about that. But they said now to avoid that, and they want all the control so they can do their annualized franchises. They want to assure people that they're not going to rush stuff out. They're going to delay it when it needs to be delayed, and it will always have that Platinum Games quality where there won't be a big day one patch or microtransaction nonsense. But they said by self-publishing, when they said they have like at least 1 or 2 new franchises dropping soon. Astral Chain was one of them, even though that is through Nintendo. But they did say that now when they do that, they're going to be able to release more frequently than they said they'd like to. They said a lot of this is just they're jumping through hoops all the time.
Yeah.
The Sony hoops, the Nintendo hoops, the Microsoft cancellations. They just got so much on their plate that they're just like, but we know what we want to do and we're good at this. We just want to do. So we'll see. Okami, of course, has that rumored unannounced sequel supposedly coming out because Nakamura and Kamiya, who were originally on Clover when Capcom dropped that. We'll see. I'm assuming it'll be under Capcom again because I think Capcom heavily owns the Okami franchise still, with it always appearing in MVC as well as the ports all the time for Okami. But we'll see. But, obviously Platinum Games, very publicly known my favorite developer. So happy to hear I'm going to be getting more of their content instead of just once every 3 years or whatever. But it's been all right lately in terms of frequency. You had Nier, and then you had Astral Chain dropping within a couple years of each other. It's not bad. So there's that. Babylon's Fall looks interesting. There's not much on it, but I'll link below what's going on with that shit. The Vanquish and Bayonetta 2-pack Steelbook is going to be dropping on Xbox One and PS4 very soon. Looks pretty. For those who haven't played the games, it's a great time to get into it. Bayonetta is a fantastic series that was basically... once Platinum was closed down as Clover Studios by Capcom, they still wanted to make more Devil May Cry, but they didn't have the rights to Devil May Cry, so they ended up making Bayonetta, which is basically just Devil May Cry, with their own twist to it. And Vanquish is a very fast-paced third-person shooter that many people have not played, so it's a cool way to see both of those get a second wind. I'm just a little sad it's not coming out on Switch, but maybe at a later time. We'll see. Josh, did you play much Bayo or Vanquish?
I played a little bit of Bayo. So I own both of them, 1 and 2 on the Wii U.
Nice.
But I played a little bit of the first one. I've been thinking I should probably just dig out my Wii U and just fucking play it.
I think you'll really like it too.
Yeah.
Especially when you get later into 2, it's so polished. It's like perfect. But Bayo 1 is not without its flaws, especially back then.
Oh yeah.
Slow load times, all this bullshit. But
I remember playing a demo for it on the 360 like way back when.
It was so.
Yeah. Like I had fun with it, but
but the Wii U port and now the Switch port are definitely the superior versions. The load times are so fast.
Noise.
But yeah. Samira, did you play much Bayonetta or Vanquish?
No, I haven't tried either of them.
So that may be something you want to, if you're interested in it, honestly, in the best way to get it is if you get the physical version of Bayonetta 2, you get Bayonetta 1, a code for Bayonetta 1 with it. So that's probably the best way to do. Or that's the way.
Oh, for the Switch, right?
For the Switch.
Oh, okay.
So that's the best way to do it. The Wii U version of that I did get, but that one's pretty much out of print and so hard to find.
Yeah, like I was actually lucky that I found a copy of Bayo 2 for the Wii U that had the first copy.
Yep, a lot of them don't have that anymore.
Yeah, because I think those were the initial prints.
It was only
and then after that, it was just Bayo 2.
Thankfully, the Switch did that again, and that's a little easier to get a copy of. $60 for those two games, or $50 for both of those games.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Absolutely worth it.
Great
if you buy it in the eShop, it is more convenient. Obviously, I'm a big digital-only eShop person, but it's more expensive because of the overall cost of doing those. So there's that. An interesting thing that you might find interesting, Josh, is that I didn't know, or I may have heard in passing, but I forgot, is that that upcoming Grand Blue Fantasy game was originally being worked on by Platinum before being handed off to
Arxis.
Arxis.
That's interesting.
So I found that very interesting because Platinum can definitely do good action, good stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it would have been interesting to see them try something with that franchise. But we'll see from there. I was going to talk about Xbox Game Pass, but we talk about that, banging on about that all the time. There was a thing recently where Phil Spencer from Xbox was talking about how, and the reason I just scoff at this is because I've heard this nonsense before. Xbox Series X looks to virtually eliminate load times. PS5, of course, shared a clip from a while back that showed that load times are very minimal as well on PS5. Both seem to be moving towards 0 to low load times, but I just don't know if that's really a thing yet.
Using solid states? Or what?
They are using solid states,
Okay.
yes. The Xbox Series X and the PS5 both have solid state drives. So, it's possible, but to me, I don't play too many games, with the exception of maybe GTA 5 and Red Dead also, so I guess the Rockstar ones because they're so big.
Mm-hmm.
Where I really find the loading times that excruciating.
Bloodborne, when it first came out, was pretty bad.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was pretty bad when that game came out.
So it's a good wish, but I'm just one of those, I'd rather see it first and just hear people bang on about it all the time. So there's that.
When I had the solid state hybrid drive on the PS4, I could tell there was a slight improvement with the load times, but it wasn't like that big. It definitely installed games a hell of a lot quicker than it did without it.
Yes.
But that fucking hard drive just kept crashing on me, so now I've got the 1 terabyte model, and
oh well.
I miss the speed of installing things. But,
so it is.
Yeah.
Of course, notoriously one of the worst loading times of all times that comes to mind is Symphony of the Night.
Mm-hmm.
The load times were atrocious there, at least on the OG PS1 version. I don't know about all these, because they had the ports, so I don't know. But the original PlayStation 1 version of Symphony of the Night is notorious for being hella slow. Mm-hmm. And the fact that when you get a game over in Symphony of the Night and it kicks you back to the main menu... is the worst.
Yeah.
Of course, if you really want to be obscure, you could talk about the fucking 3DO or something else that had really bad load times. But I mean, that's pulling. I'm talking about like stuff people actually owned, like a PS1. One of the better ones, of course, was in I believe it was Jak and Daxter. Had no load time for the PS2, so shows you it was possible within a generation when you do your assets properly to do it like that. Stadia. A little bit of Google Stadia stuff we forgot to talk about last time. So the Stadia, of course, is still a piece of shit and a failure, but now it's melting people's units, or at least overheating and running risk of getting to the heat point of melting plastic. So when a lot of people griped about this on the Reddit for Stadia owners, which I'm surprised has more than 0 people on there, people were talking about how overheating has been an issue. They'll be in the middle of a raid in Destiny 2 and the game will restart because the Stadia restarts when it gets above a certain temperature, or the Chromecast, because that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Chromecast Ultra, restarts in order to prevent the unit from melting. And it has been a reported issue going on lately that people that have been trying to play their Stadia have not been able to because it just keeps restarting in the middle of a game because it gets too hot. To which, like Google's many brilliant responses to a lot of this stuff, was, but we tested it though, so you probably just had a fucked unit. Well, come talk to us, we'll just see about it. To which hundreds of people followed that by like, nope, mine too. Nope, me also. Nope, mine does this shit. And then Google's just like, oh, well, we'll look into it. It was like, maybe you should have looked into this shit before dropping the fucking Stadia.
Companies like to keep their customers happy, so I'm sure they'll do the right thing.
What a legend. I can't believe that jackass said that shit. But, so here's the thing for me, is that you're repurposing a device that was not built to do this, okay? Here's the first thing. I love my Chromecast Ultra. Sometimes it has problems streaming a fucking video. Can you imagine their promise of streaming 4K 60-plus frame games? There's no way.
Yeah.
Because this thing can barely load YouTube sometimes.
And then when they tested it, did they test it for like 5 minutes?
That's the thing. It doesn't seem like
people
they did.
game for a long time.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is it doesn't seem like they really did at all. So there's that. So, alongside all of the missing features, incomplete launch, blah, 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 now they have units fucking up. Like, great. Like, as if they needed another hurdle to jump over.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I don't know, it's just really bad. Samir, did you have any intention or care for the Stadia at all?
Nope.
Smart person.
Yeah.
Streaming games just seems like just such a bad idea. It doesn't work.
I just can't. I don't know, I can't.
Because when you go with that, right, the fact that when Stadia dies, all the money that these people are spending on games is going to die with it is crazy.
Yeah.
So you have the Xbox One Pass, the Game Pass, which is $15 a year, and $15 a month, but you get access to all these AAA titles and all this good stuff. And yes, you don't get to keep it, but it is only $15 a year, so you could argue that you're going to beat way more games than you're going to spend money in a year. If Stadia did that as their game plan, okay, maybe it's just a failed idea, but they had a noble idea and so on and so forth. No. The fact that you still, what people still think, there's still people that don't understand what the Stadia is, still think that, yeah, but it's the Netflix of games. It's not. You still have to pay the full $50, $60 for some of these games to stream them. So when Stadia inevitably dies, in what I'm predicting is by the end of this year, some people are giving it till next year, I think that's generous, I think that people are going to be really pissed when they realize that they're going to lose all their games. And it's one of the number one asked questions. Google had an AMA when Stadia dropped and said, their number one asked question is, what happens when Stadia inevitably could die? And they didn't answer. They just go, yeah, we get that you're worried about that. We understand that's a big concern of our users. And then that was basically their answer to that. Because that's it. They're going to cut and run. That's what's going to happen. I can almost guarantee you that the TOS says that if Stadia service dies, your games die with it. We have no reason. The only thing they promise is if Stadia ever does die, you get to take your stats with you. So your achievements and everything and your stats, those are forever. I don't give a fuck about any of that.
Yeah, what?
They say that they say your metadata is forever preserved on their servers, so you'll always have access to that.
Your metadata is saved everywhere ever. So it's not that hard.
Yeah, it was really dumb that was their huge brag. It was just like, wow, this is great, guys.
It's like, what is this? It's like, thanks, this is worthless.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what that is. But yeah, so meh. I don't get why people have faith in it, and the fact that people are still have hope for it is just crazy to me. Yeah. That thing is dead in the water. That thing was dead before Arrival. Like, it's just a bad idea.
DBA.
Yeah, DBA, exactly. Yep, dead before Arrival. So, in the last year, Samira, did you have any games that newer games, if you did, that you played that came out in 2019 that you really enjoyed? I was originally going to do a whole "What's your game of the year" thing. That was such a weird question to ask because we had that conversation internally, and even though I had an answer, it was hard for a lot of people to answer because it's very, how do you determine that? Which is why I think it's a weird thing. Yeah. But did you have any new releases that dropped in 2019 that you really enjoyed?
I think Borderlands 3 is gotta be the one that takes it.
There you go. I'm glad you were able to have fun with it. I didn't, as my very downvoted review of it wasn't the thing. But I am always in that boat where I'm glad that other people were able to enjoy it. That's how I always land on the thing. I may not have, but to me, the biggest disappointment are the people that did is that I didn't. You know what I mean? That's always for me. Yeah. The saddest thing is when everyone's loving something and you didn't. I think Jim Sterling felt that way about Remnant from the Ashes, which was like it was like a Souls-like with guns and like it took place in a monster world and it like should have been cool. It aesthetically looked cool, but he could not stand it. And he said that was his biggest thing is that, you know, he didn't enjoy it, and that was the saddest thing. You know, he's like, it's one thing if a game's bad, it's whatever, but he's like, the fact that so many people like this game and I just can't give it a good review, he's like, kills me. He goes like, because I want to understand, I want to feel what these people are feeling, but I don't. And that's how I felt about Borderlands 3. I ended up revising my score to giving it a 7 out of 10, which is not awful. It's just that I had such a huge high off of Borderlands 2 that it was just destined to fail for me in the sense that I held it to that pedestal. Because one thing that a lot of people will tell me is that it definitely wasn't as good as Borderlands 2, but that was definitely a high bar to jump over. So it's just one of those things where you're kind of destined to not be able to surpass that, because Borderlands 2 is great. Man, the hundreds of hours I dropped into that game was fantastic.
So good.
Good game.
But yeah. Anything upcoming that you guys... Well, we talked about Animal Crossing, obviously. My voice is starting to go out, so we're going to wrap it soon. Are there any upcoming games or things you want to see that may not have been announced, but you would like to hopefully get a sequel or get a game coming up in the next... in the old 2020? First, well, I guess we'll go with Samira first.
Oh, man. You know, I've been hoping for Animal Crossing for so long, but I think I'm just, like, happy with that.
Yeah, the fact that that's coming out, right?
I don't think I want to risk any delays by asking for something else now.
Hey, smart. There's that for sure. Mr. Josh?
So this is stuff that hasn't been announced that we just...
Something you'd love to see, like, a sequel of that didn't. If there is something announced that you want to mention, too, like, side mention... But also, is there anything you also that hasn't been announced that you would like to get a sequel?
I mean, a Bloodborne 2 would always be kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. Did Miyazaki, right? That's the name of the guy.
Yeah.
Did he ever say whether or not that's on or off the table in terms of a? Because I know there are certain ones where he's like said like didn't he say like Dark Souls is done, right?
I remember there was a weird. I'm pretty sure it was something on Twitter years ago that I don't remember the exact thing, but I recall it kind of gave the impression that a Bloodborne 2 could happen.
Okay. But
then there was the announcement that after Dark Souls 3, they don't want to do any more Souls-like games, so...
Yeah.
So
good. That's a good wish list.
Yeah.
Anything else that, like, maybe hasn't had a game in a while, or a franchise you'd like to maybe see come back? For example, let me spoil one of mine, Rival Schools. Because Capcom did express interest in reviving a franchise that hasn't had a game in a while, a fighting game that hasn't had a game in a while, and Rival Schools was always one of my favorites, so I'd love to see that come back into the mix. But anything else like that?
Yeah, Rival Schools would be pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Shoot, man, Darkstalkers, they were making a new one, that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be badass, yeah. Capcom, now that Capcom's, with the exception of Street Fighter V, seems to be back on their feet again, I would love to see that.
Like, I've never been a crazy Darkstalkers fan. Like, I like the characters.
The characters have always been pretty cool.
Yeah, like in Marvel, I always almost use Morrigan. But I know a lot of people would really like to see another Darkstalkers game. So.
Yeah, I'd definitely be down for that. So.
Yeah.
For me, a lot of them are announced already.
Persona, another Persona fighting game.
That would be really good.
Yeah, if they were to make Persona Ultimax with like the Persona 5 characters.
Yep, add them on. Then would it be 3, 4, and 5 at that point? Or did they have 3, right? And,
they added characters from the third game in there.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. That is a really good one. For me,
I'd actually really like to see a new Mirror's Edge game that I don't need to play through Origin.
Oh, yeah, no, Mirror's Edge would be really good because the second one, they really dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah,
it's a shame because Mirror's Edge, the first one, fantastic game. Like, such a cool concept. The whole, pacifist thing, did going around the map in the first person. God, that would probably make you nauseous in VR, but it was cool.
And it still holds up too. Like I played it as recently as last year, and it still holds up.
Absolutely.
I think it has a big speedrunning community, doesn't it?
Yes, it has a very big speedrunning community. Yeah, the people dedicated to that game, especially in that scene, are huge. And then the second one came out, and it was not great. It was it was weird. It started off on the wrong foot when people complained about the character redesign looking a little weird. A little bit of whitewashing on the character.
I remember reading about
a thing. Yeah. And then on top of that, the story was stupid. Like the narrative and the way that they present the world in the second one, or it's technically like a soft reboot. It's bad. They should just start over again. Either that or do the whole Ghostbusters thing and just say, this is the sequel to the first one, and then go on from there. But I would like that. That's actually a really cool one. I'm glad you said that one. That's a really good one. For me, I'd like to see Tomb Raider try again, because again, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I wasn't too crazy about. It was all right, but it was for me definitely the clearly weakest one of the newest ones because the first self-titled in the reboot was great. Rise of the Tomb Raider took that, did awesome stuff with the tomb raiding puzzles and everything, just really like went in there. And then Shadow of the Tomb Raider said, let's dip it in some Hot Topic and make it super edgy, and it was just not as good.
Yeah.
Laura's character development in it is a train wreck, and the game itself plays fine, like on a functional level it's okay. But I was just really sad with what they did with Laura in the narrative, because Laura's one of my favorite characters of all time. I always have nostalgia for her because ever since I played the first one on PS1, that is one of the franchises I can say I actually did play the first one when it was brand new back then. And I just really like, with the exception of Angel of Darkness and Chronicle, or was it Chronicles? Or I think it was the fourth or fifth one was bad also. And then there was one where Laura in the beginning, they're like, oh, Laura, it's her funeral, she died, and here's her adventures before her demise. And then you have Angel of Darkness, which is a whole nightmare in itself. They really fucked that up. To me, that was peak them abusing Laura in terms of just devaluing her character to basically nothing. They just turned her into this, like, she's the hot chick, and, like, look how cool she is. It's just like, this is really bad. Like Laura is supposed to be this really classy, like, archaeologist. She's heavily influenced by Indiana Jones. You know, she's supposed to be this really... You know, yes, she was beautiful, but she was also supposed to be this really smart, blah, blah, but there they just turned her into this, like, snarky one-liner, like, bad camera angle game, and that was bad. But they've been doing good stuff with it since. The 360 PS3 era reboot was fine, and then the current generation reboot was also really good, so there's that. I mean, I think that the franchise always has a lot of fans and definitely a lot of potential, because that community is massive. Like, the Tomb Raider community is big, and I'm really happy for that, because Laura, to me, will always stick in my head of, like, one of the iconic characters that I remember growing up. Because ever since her, and like, it's fucked up to think that at one point that was, like, I grew up in a society where that was, like, the mindset, is that I was like, oh yeah, a female can be a lead character, and I think that that's really cool. Yeah. And we're starting to see that more now, you know, with Bayo and stuff like that. But at the time, that was super rare to have a female in the lead like that, where, like, this is a story about her and her journey and stuff like that, not just, oh, she's the love interest, which is almost always what every female character was back then. Yeah. So I was really happy to see that, and especially as someone who loves to play female-led games like Celeste and stuff like that, and usually when I create a character, I find I like the customization options a little bit better on the female character, so I don't know, just stuff like that. So I'd love to see another Tomb Raider. They already announced more Yakuza, which is always cool. I'm always down for more of those games. But the thing that my wish already coming true, which is so great, and I didn't even need to wish for it because they announced it, and I never thought it was going to happen, Deadly Premonition 2, of course. Yeah. The game that I never thought would ever get a sequel because no one really played it, and the people that played it weren't crazy about it, or didn't get it, or really loved it. It was so polarized. That's why it's in the Guinness Book of World Records still for the most polarized game of all time. So there's that. I'm super excited for that. And for a wish, another wish of something to wrap it up that wasn't announced yet, but I would love for, that's never going to happen, is a new Busta Groove. Busta Groove was one of my most favorite rhythm games growing up. You know, Parappa the Rapper was really cool. Jammer Lammy was awesome. Yeah. But the amount of time I played with Busta Groove 1 and 2 is just crazy. I spent so much time with those games. Even ports of the first two would make me so happy just to play on Switch again.
We need more rhythm games.
Played a lot of them. Rhythm games are great.
Actually, isn't there a Hatsune Miku game coming out for Switch?
There's I don't remember. Yeah, they have that port right now. There's like an all-star of like all her greatest hits up to that point, and I think they are doing a brand new one as well. Because she's going to be at Coachella, which is really crazy to think that she's going to be there. So let's talk about Coachella real quick. That's going to be really interesting. Coachella to me has always been the hipster music festival where there's always like 3 acts I like, and everything else is just like, I think people just want to go to Coachella because of I
think that's what it is now. People just go to Coachella and say they went to Coachella.
Yeah, basically it's one of those things. I think that's all it really is. But this year's lineup's pretty interesting. You have my 88 Rising favorite rappers, Rich Brian and Joji are going to be there. Then you have J-pop acts Kiari Pamyu and Hatsune Miku are going to be there. And then you have K-pop acts Big Bang and Epic High are going to be there. And then you have Rage Against the Machine also there. So let's break it down to one day. I would just be removing Joji from that equation. Other than that, the J-pop, K-pop acts are going to perform, followed by Rage Against the fucking Machine. That's so bizarre that is the line of that it's actually going to be. It's crazy. In fact, Big Bang is the co-headliner, so they're going to go on right before. So there's going to be some K-pop right before Rage Against the Machine hits the stage, which is just... That's gonna be a crowd. What a crazy diverse Hatsune Miku people, and everyone are like a whole their own thing. So
can't wait for everybody to be so confused when Hatsune Miku shows up.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be like, oh, didn't they have the Tupac hologram at Coachella one time? So now they can finally collab.
Yeah, they can finally do the collab.
That would be amazing. I actually would. That is actually a stupid wish of mine. It's not video game, but that's what I want. I want Tupac hologram and Hatsune Miku hologram to collab.
Yeah.
They'll do that. Alright, y'all. So that pretty much wraps that. That is the news coming out right now in the first week of 2020. I almost said 2019. I almost fucked that up. In 2020.
Yeah.
So we got that. We really thank Samira Khan for joining us on the line today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come hang out with us for a bit.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, and we'll have all her social media and everything and her Twitch below in the podcast description. If she has anything coming up, of course, we'll always plug it during our ad spot and anything like that. Anything you got going on, definitely let us know, and we'll take care of you on that, and we'll definitely let people know where to go to cons to see you or whatever projects you might have coming up. So we'll always be in touch with you.
Great. Thanks so much, guys.
Alrighty, and other than that, you can catch us every Monday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Until the next episode, we will catch you guys then. Until then, see ya.